Is somebody up there talking?
Hello there, and welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. Well, for our last show of the year, first show of next year, it's going to be a little interesting, kind of a mid-year review and kind of a look back and a look forward of what has happened and what disasters are yet to come.
Welcome.
Let's start right off with the city's, what everyone's calling the city's biggest challenge, and that is going to be the closing of the landfill. You know, they put together this great panel, this great group of people to address the issues with the closing of the landfill and what they're going to do. That's a $5 million loss in funds, which, you know, Fall River doesn't worry about money because our city corporate council and our mayor just gave away about $1 million, if you remember correctly. So, I mean, $5 million is nothing. But, you know, the city hasn't done anything about it, so what happened? You know what happened? The state started to do something about it. The state went out and got a permit to build a transfer station up at the industrial park. Now, for the longest time, we were talking about making a transfer station right down at the city garage, the old incinerator. But, of course, nothing ever happened to that. So we'll just lose the $5 million. We'll let the state handle everything because we're Fall River. We can't do it because it seems like we're foolish. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, as usual, government by crisis. You heard it here first on Spindle City Straight Talk. We've been talking about government by crisis for a very long time. And during the debates, the landfill was brought up, and the mayor basically referred to his panel. And I'll actually grab one of those articles and I will quote an incoming city councilor, actually.
That would be here.
Yeah. This is a quote from incoming City Councilor Paul Da Silva. Tackling the issue of solid waste will be the city's toughest challenge because the Fall River Industrial Park landfill is set to close at the end of 2014, said incoming Councilor Paul Da Silva. And this is a quote: "It's been pushed down the road and now we'll be scrambling. And we're going to have to make some tough decisions." Well, they were made a lot tougher because we sat on this thing until it was ready to hatch, as usual. But there seems to be no accountability and no consequences for doing this from the city council or from anyone else.
You know, this is ridiculous because, you know, here's another way that we just say, we'll wait for somebody else to do the job. You know, what were you elected for, Mr. Mayor? What were you elected for, City Council? This is your job. This isn't for the state to come in and bail you out. It seems that that's all you 10 people decide to do. Between the mayor and the city council, we always decide on letting the city bail us out. I mean, we look at what's going on over at Durfee. You know, Durfee needs building repairs for them to get reaccredited. They just received reaccreditation, and that committee said that they are very much aware of the needs of the building, and they're very concerned about it. So they were depending on the Massachusetts State Building Association to come forward with the money. Again, we're putting our hand out for state welfare. Well, guess what, Mr. Mayor? Guess what, City Council? Guess what, School Committee? No. The Massachusetts State Building Authority says the same thing that I've been saying for years, and many other people in the city of Fall River have been saying, and they say that you don't get any money to repair the school. You need to build a new, smaller school. And that's what you have to do. I mean, and this is coming from the people that supply you your money, your 80 or 90% reimbursement. You need to build a smaller school. And I've been saying that cities with smaller populations than Fall River have 2 and 3 high schools, yet we only have 1. And I found out in doing my research, because, you know, we don't just look around and say what's happening. Do you know why we only have 1? I'll tell you why. Because we were afraid of jeopardizing our sports programs at Durfee High School? What sports program? They haven't won a football game in how long? I mean, come on. We can do better, and we can do better for our students. I don't know. What do you think about this, Bob? I mean,
Well, let's really start with one of the real big issues that I've always had with this city, and that's oversight. I'd like to see a list of all these repairs and what was done about these things and when they occurred and how much the city has spent to try to have upkeep. Fundamental upkeep of buildings is part of the cost of doing business. I saw a lot of pay raises. I've seen a lot of new jobs. I've seen a lot of wasting of money, the taxpayer money.
$6,000 bathrooms, anyone?
Exactly. But this is the problem, and this is the problem I'm going to talk about in my commentary today. They love to spend other people's money, and in reality, it's our money. It's not their money. They can have $9,000 doors on our money. They can go out to lunch on our money. They can not maintain the schools but give all their friends jobs and pay raises on our money. And it's going to end because this city is on the verge of receivership. And when our now, who's been, I guess, sainted now, our former city administrator leaves, ultimately we're going to find out that we're not going to be able to bond forever. We're not going to be able to raise the taxes forever because the city is going to collapse.
It's not like it's not already doing that. I mean, and again, spending fundamentally wasted money. The mayor, when he decided not to renew Sean Kadim's, the sainted Sean Kadim, contract, he decided he was going to do a nationwide search for a new city administrator when we know one was already chosen. And that's going to cost the city up to, or maybe in excess of, $7,000. And for that, they got 60 resumes, including one from Bolivia. Boy, we must be really a hot topic, you know, in Bolivia. And we still hired Kathy Ann Viveris, somebody who doesn't have a background in the management that we probably need here in Fall River. That's $7,000 of money we don't have. But we just spent it because we didn't have to do it. And, you know, I know people out there saying, oh, you know, Sean Kadim's a nice guy. You shouldn't be, you know, making fun of him with the sainted Sean Kadim. Let me tell you something. When he was in the job, people were complaining about the job he was doing. But the minute, like everyone else in Fall River, once you get out of city government jobs, the public sector, you are sainted. You are given a job. You're given the holy grail of jobs in Fall River, whether it be a school guidance counselor at the Viveris School for former state representatives, or a position at Boston, UMass Boston, for a former city mayor. You get the sainted jobs. This isn't about the person. It's not about the personality. It's about the job. And the job here is that we waste money and we misappropriate it. This was $7,000 that didn't need to be spent, but it makes for a good cover story. You know, we always talk about transparency. That word has been beat so much to death that when you say transparency in Fall River, you're looking at a black wall. I mean, I get so fed up with hearing it. I don't know about you, Bob, but you know, it makes me sick after a while.
Well, it is something that really has become epidemic with this administration. He seems to basically lie about everything. I think everybody knows that Kathy Ann was being looked at for this position before this nationwide search ever occurred. Why did we do it? Because it's not his money. It's our money. At the hell with the taxpayer again. You know, we'll just make it look good. I'll say I'm doing a nationwide search. I'll say I've got a panel on the landfill, but we won't do anything until they close the landfill. I'll have a panel on what we're going to do with the schools, and we won't do anything until they tell us that the school is falling down around us. And you know, it has become epidemic, and I'm frankly tired of listening to excuses for lack of performance. The display put on by our law department, I could get 2 first-year law students that could sound more competent than they did. It was disgraceful, to to say the least. And, you know, it's just, again, the taxpayer that ends up with the burden, and we just can't do this anymore. And hopefully, this new year, people will become more involved, begin to do things, and begin to get rid of some of these people.
It's, you know, it truly is sad. And, you know, the year to date for 2013 has been sad for Fall River. It has always been budgeting by crisis, legislation by crisis, and action by crisis, and we need to stop that. But we're looking forward to 2014. And, you know, in a week, we're going to look at a new city council being sworn in. Well, 3 new city councilors anyhow. Those being Paul De Silva, Leo Pelletier, and Jaziel Correa. Leo's no newbie to the city council. He's ornery, he's cantankerous, he's difficult to work with. These are a lot of things people say about him. But you know what? When you pick up the phone and you call Leo about something, it gets done. And that's why the people like Leo, because his constituent services are right there. And as much as he's cantankerous and as much as he's, you know, right out there to say what he has to say, he says it. He speaks straight. You know, Paul De Silva, I think you've got another mayor's rubber stamp. And as for Jaziel, if this is how his term as city council is going to start, what a mistake was made by the voters of Fall River in putting him in the 10th position. He has been made unavailable to the Herald News, to reporters who have called or sent emails and asked him for comments. The Herald News even extended a deadline for him to get his commentary, and he has been unavailable. And I have to say, you know, you're the incoming city councilor. When there's a crisis going on, are you going to say, I'm unavailable? What's so important, Mr. Correa, that you cannot answer the press about what's happening in Fall River? Okay? You ran for this office. You know what the priorities are. You know what you have to do. And telling the press I'm unavailable and I'll make some time when I can for you is unacceptable. And I'm sorry, but if that's how your term of office is going to begin, we're in for a sad review of you at the end of your term. I mean, do you want to disagree with me on this, Bob? I mean, I'm trying to figure this out, you know?
Well, it's kind of difficult to even think that he is going to be a voice of the people when, in fact, I think he may be the first city council candidate in the history of this city who was also a spokesman for the incumbent mayor when he was running for office. At the night of the election, he was one of the spokesmen for the mayor. So is that a good thing? Well, you know, I think that as a city councilor, you are working for the people, not the mayor. Is he going to be a mouthpiece for the mayor? I hope not. But it seems as though the way things are going down, he's unavailable for comment. Our sources have said that he had a meeting in Providence. It's amazing how all these meetings occur in Providence.
I know.
And you know, and just as the Christmas party at the City Hall was catered by a catering company from Rumford, Rhode Island, I guess we don't have anybody in Fall River who caters. But he had a meeting in Providence with the mayor and City Councilor Joe Camara. That's what we got. We have been told that. We're going to try to see if we can corroborate it. But even the fact that somebody is saying this, he's unavailable for comment. He's supposed to be working for the people. He is supposed to be the people's representative. And I think this, again, we see what happens in government. We have a 100% employment rate for politicians and political hacks. Yet for the people of this city, they can't find a job. So I think that we're going to have to take the wait and see attitude, but I'm going to be perfectly frank. I'm not too optimistic.
I'm not too optimistic either, because when you look at the city council and the incoming city council, the way it is, let's look at the rubber stamps, okay? The rubber stamps are Pat Casey, your favorite pet. That's a rubber stamp for the mayor. Pat Casey has never once voted against anything a mayor has brought down to the city council. So as you keep moving along, you're looking at Paul De Silva. I think he's going to be another rubber stamp for the mayor. Jaziel Correa, definitely another rubber stamp for the mayor. Not only was he a spokesman, he over-donated to the mayor. He gave $300 from his political campaign chest, and the campaign finance laws say he can only give $100 out of his campaign war chest. So the mayor had to give him back money. He was a spokesman, as you said, for the mayor. He worked as the lead for the Bold Coalition. He worked on the Youth's Bill of Rights here in Fall River, which also works with the mayor's office. He's always been the political kiss butt. I'm going to put it politically correct. There are other words for it that it appears to be. How the man even came in 10th, I think is solely based upon the fact that the people of Fall River don't look at the substance. They look at what's on the surface. And Jaziel's personality is a wonderful thing. I mean, and Jaziel, presents himself to be a very successful, very well-intentioned, and very well-off young man. But when it comes right down to it, he's nothing but a political hack that just does what he's told by the powers that be. You move on to, let's say, Mike Mioza. I don't know where that vote could go. Mike has fought the mayor on some issues, but Mike has also fallen in line on many more. Leo Pelletier, I'm sorry to say it. I mean, Leo has historically been a man that just says what's on his mind, but on the fact that his wife has gotten a job in City Hall from the mayor, I think Leo needs to keep himself in check a little bit and worry about what he says and how he acts. So I think his vote can be very easily swayed towards what the mayor wants. Dan Rigo, I think you're going to get Dan Rigo. I don't think you're going to get anyone else but who Dan Rigo is. And Dan Rigo is an independent, loud, opinionated person, and he's going to make sure that the people know that what he's doing is for you, the people, not for him, not for the mayor, and not for Kathy Ann or anyone else. So, when you're looking at this council, and I mean, Linda Pereira, Linda is Linda. Linda's always been the same way. She's spoken her mind. She's told people what she wants, and she makes it clear. But Linda also knows the political nuances of the game when she has to play nice in the schoolyard. Otherwise, it doesn't go where she needs it to go. And you have to look at that. So it's going to be an interesting 2 years with this council, to say the least. And I think the biggest thing that we're going to see is what happens on Monday, the 6th, when the city council presidency vote is taken. Because now, Linda has thought for a long time that this was pretty much, all set. Joe Camara kind of has felt it through. Everyone's kind of politicking here and trying to lobby for those votes from these 3 new incomers and one who isn't such a new incomer. So what can you give them to take them away from the mayor? That's my question. And that's a serious question.
Well, I think one of the big questions is the rumor has it, and we do,
The whisper campaign.
the whisper campaign, the rumors, which in Fall River most of the time turn out to be correct, say that the mayor is lobbying very heavily for Joe Camara. That poses a very interesting question in my mind. Joe Camara voted against the budget. Joe Camara has been an opponent of the mayor on a lot of issues over this last year. He's been viewed as an opponent of many of these issues. He's been pretty vocal on many issues, and the question would then be, why would he support someone, and why would he be even involved in the selection of a council president? This all gets back to a core issue, and that is that everybody in this city, including the people who were elected to city council, forget why they were elected. They were elected to do the business of the people, not the business of politics. So it's going to be a very interesting year, and I think that, you know, we never run out of things to talk about on this show because we live in Fall River.
Yeah, but you know what's very interesting? Because I was actually asking people, and then I had heard that my favorite two people in the whole world on WSAR, which shall remain nameless, kind of came back with the same thing that I had already found out. And that's, if you ask the average voter in Fall River, what did your candidates run on? I don't know. Honestly, that's what you say. I don't know. A few people said, oh, jobs. They're going to bring jobs to Fall River. Guess what? City government doesn't bring jobs. City government creates an environment where jobs can be created. Okay? But that's what everyone said, jobs. And taxes. Oh, they worked on taxes. They worked on them very diligently. They worked on raising them. They worked on raising the water bill. And did you see your tax bill, your recent tax bill? Guess what's on there? That Community Preservation Fund, which was only going to cost us, what, $20 a year. Mine's costing me over $80. I mean, seems to be a little high, more taxes. So I'm going to go down to City Hall and I'm going to find a way to get an abatement on it. I mean, and I think everyone that watches this program should go down to City Hall and find out if they can get an abatement on it. Don't give the city an extra dime if they don't deserve it. That's my opinion. But, you know, I made a comment, and I'm not going to apologize for it, because I never do, on Facebook, that in the coming year, we shall see the swashbucklers flying, the brown shirts walking the streets, and the secret police knocking down the doors, because that's the way this city hall is being run. It's being run like a dictatorial environment. The employees are afraid to say anything, okay? The city council has to meet adversariously with the sixth floor to get anything done, and our legal counsel can't even write a brief. So, you know, where are our rights? This is a scary thought for us. And I have to really say, Fall River is not going the right way. And all I predict for Fall River for the upcoming year is more pain and distress that we're going to have to pay for. And hopefully I'm not going to be looking down the barrel of a receiver coming along. And I think that we need to calm down a little bit and get on to Chipper's choice of commentary.
Well, you know, there are so many choices now that we're looking at the end of this year. There have been so many things that have gone on, but I think that we have to look and talk about the perspective that we have in this city. There seems to be a total disconnect between the people who govern this city and the people who live in this city. And I did say this in front of the city council, and I referred to it as a tale of two cities in Charles Dickens. And, you know, it is the best of times and the worst of times. It's the best of times for the politicians, and it's the worst of times for the people who live in this community. We talk about a Community Preservation Act and an abatement. I think the way we have to preserve this community is by beginning to really become involved. I hope we've, in this year, have made you think about things, ask some questions, and get more involved, because the only way we can preserve this community is change the way it's run. When I see a $9,000 DOA and $20,000 worth of glass being put in a law office because someone likes to have an office that looks like The Good Wife on a television show, and she says it's more professional, and that we should have those doors all over City Hall. Well, guess what? There are some people that $9,000 is about half of what they make for a year that are trying to scrape and make ends meet. When I see $5,000 being spent on a ceiling while we allow a landfill that's going to cost us $5 million to go unaddressed, I just don't understand how the people of this city are still not getting the torches and the pitchforks ready. Because it's inconceivable to me that we can allow this type of government to continue. We really need a revolution. We need a revolt in this city. We cannot have the people who run this government spend more time in Providence and Boston than they do in this community and think that it's okay to paint an office 3 times because someone doesn't like a color. I worked on a fire department for 38 years. I don't even remember what color they painted my office because it was whatever was the cheapest color were available, because they actually had some consideration for the costs to the public. This government, or what I'm loosely referring to as a government that is running this city, has a total disregard for the taxpayer, a total disregard for the plight of the people who are barely making it while they're walking through their $9,000 door to go to Providence and eat at the Capitol Grill and spend more on lunch than some of these people have for a budget for a week's worth of groceries. Is just, I've had it. And I'm going to make 2014 a year where I'm going to do everything I can to start the revolution.
You know, Thomas Jefferson said it well. It's the rights of the people. When their government isn't serving the people any longer, it's the rights of the people to revolt against that government. And maybe it's time. Maybe it's time that we revolt against this government. We know from experience, at least Bob does, that trying to have a recall petition to recall your mayor or even your city councilors doesn't work in Fall River, because the legal department of crayons finds a way to color over the paperwork. So, you know, what do you do? What do you do to revolt? What do you do to make it clear to your elected officials that you're not happy? Because we make it clear to them, and I've even heard from people, well, you're just troublemakers. You're just the ones to make a lot of noise. And we need to hear from more people. We need to hear from people that have something to say, and nobody else is saying anything. And that's the problem. When there's 44,000 people in this city registered to vote, and 20% of that number goes out and votes, that means you don't care. Do you care about Fall River? Do you know Fall River has the capability of being a beautiful, profitable, prosperous city, but not with the government we have? We leave it to you to make it happen. So let's make 2014 a year where the people rise up, take back their government, and make Fall River a wonderful place to be. We need to hear from you. We want to hear your thoughts, your comments, bad or good, whatever it may be. Send us a message on Facebook, send us a message via email, make a phone call. We want to hear from you. We know what's going on, we know what's there, but we want to know it from you. So give us your hints. And everyone, have a very happy 2014. And thank you for viewing.
Be safe.